Welcome to Infidelity Cheating Stories. I hope you like the story. Let's begin. The story begins with a light, rainy evening. In New York's large financial district, Rohan Carter was sitting on the top floor of his plush office building. He owned a large financial empire, and his name was taken with respect everywhere. His wife, Olivia Carter, was a philanthropist and fashion designer. The two had been married for 10 years. From the outside, their relationship seemed ideal, but there was restlessness hidden somewhere in Rohan's heart. That evening, Rohan said to Olivia, "Olivia, I'm thinking we should go on vacation to spend some time together." Olivia, who was texting someone on her phone, smiled and said, "Not yet, Ron. I have a lot of events and clients to work with. Maybe next month." Rohan looked into her eyes. He knew she was procrastinating, but he ignored it. A few days later, Rohan notices that Olivia used to stay up late at night. When he asked her, she would say, "There's just some designing work." But Rohan did not find this answer satisfactory. For the first time, she felt that the distance between them was increasing. One night, when he was busy with his office work, his assistant sent him an email. This email came from an unknown source. The subject line read, "You have everything, but do you really know what's going on around you?" The email was accompanied by a video attachment. Rohan played the video with a little hesitation. In the video, it was a public place, probably a cafe. Olivia was sitting there with a man. They seemed very close to each other. His heart skipped a beat. She watched the video again, wondering if it was true. He said to himself, "Is this a joke? Or is there really something going on?" Rohan kept his emotions in check and thought that he should not take any decision in haste. He said to himself, "First, I have to find out the truth." She decided to find out the identity of the person and asked for help from her security team. Rohan decided to keep himself calm and get to the bottom of the matter. He called his personal security team and said, "I want every detail of this guy. Name, work, and her role in my life. I need to know the truth." The security team started working on it. Rohan tried to make his life look normal, but the restlessness remained in his mind. Over the next few days, she observed Olivia's behavior more closely. She was busy on the phone every now and then and would talk to someone till late in the night. One evening, when she returned home, she said, "Rohan, I'm going to Los Angeles for a client meeting this week. This is very important." Rohan took her words seriously but did not express it. He smiled and said, "Well, go if it's necessary." That night, Rohan contacted his security team. "Keep an eye on Olivia's plans to move to Los Angeles. Is this meeting real or something else?" The security team assured him that they would keep an eye on every activity. 3 days later, the security team sent a report to Rohan. There were some pictures in the report. Olivia was outside a luxurious hotel in Los Angeles and was accompanied by the same man Rohan saw in the video. The man's name was David Ford. He was an influential businessman who worked in the field of real estate. The security team said David and Olivia had a private dinner in Los Angeles and then went to the hotel room. Rohan looked at the pictures carefully. His heart was broken, but he kept himself calm. He said to his assistant, "Gather all the information about David Ford. I want to keep an eye on his every move." The assistant prepared a complete profile of David in no time. He was not only a successful businessman but was also involved in many controversies. Rohan took a deep breath and said, "Now this is not just a case of betrayal. I have to protect my life and my empire." She contacted her legal team and said, "I have to prepare all the documents to protect my property and business." The legal team began work immediately. Meanwhile, Olivia returned home. He smiled as usual and said, "The Los Angeles meeting went very well. I signed up a few new clients." Rohan looked at him and said, "That's a good thing. I'm glad your work is going well." There was no anger or suspicion on his face, but everything was clear in his mind now. That night, Rohan sat alone and prepared his entire plan. He thought, "This game will end now." but I'll end it my way. The next day, Rohan met an old friend and private attorney of his, Jason Brooks. Jason had always been Rohan's trusted partner and helped him in every difficult time. "Jason, I need your help. I want a strong plan to protect my property, my company, and my personal life," Rohan said in a serious tone. Jason listened attentively and responded, "The case may be more complicated than it looks. You've made the right time, but now you have to tread carefully every step of the way." Rohan tells Jason the whole incident and everything about David Ford. "If it was only a personal matter, I could have ignored it. But I suspect it's part of a plan to attack my property and my empire," Rohan said. Jason agreed and said, "We will first put your property into a trust so that no one can try to grab it, and we will take some important legal steps to protect your company." Meanwhile, Rohan instructs his security team to keep an eye on David Ford's every move. "I want a record of his every move. It's important to know who he's doing all this with," she said. The security team began reporting. David was not only meeting regularly with Olivia, but he was also secretly meeting with the owners of Rohan's rival companies. "It's not just personal. It's a commercial conspiracy," Rohan said to himself. A few days later, Rohan received another report from the security team. There was a startling piece of information in it. David had bribed an internal employee in Rohan's company so that he could get confidential information. "This guy isn't just trying to ruin my relationship. He wants to ruin my whole life," Rohan said angrily. Rohan immediately called his lawyers and ensured the safety of every document of the company. She strengthened all her legal and financial plans. "Now this game will be played on my rules," he said coldly. Meanwhile, Olivia had no idea that Rohan was keeping an eye on her every move. She was still enjoying her relationship with David. "You'll get everything soon," David assured her. "Rohan won't be able to do anything now." But David didn't know that Rohan was now fully prepared. One evening, Rohan invited Olivia for a dinner. "We haven't spent time together for quite some time. Come on, tonight will be just for us," she said with a smile. Olivia hesitated a bit, but she said yes. During dinner, Rohan had a light-hearted chat, but he had a whole plan in his mind. "It's good to hear about your work. I know how hard you work," he said. Olivia replied with a smile, "Yes, but none of this would have been possible without your support." There was a strange fake sweetness in his words, which Rohan could now easily recognize. After dinner, when Olivia went to sleep, Rohan contacted his security team. "Now the time has come. We have to prepare for the next step," she said. The day after dinner, Rohan called his security team and lawyers for a secret meeting. He revealed all the details, the relationship between Olivia and David, David's plots, and the clandestine activities within the company. "It's not just a personal issue anymore. This is a direct attack on my company and my life," Rohan said in a serious tone. Jason said as he drew up the plan, "The first step is to find the employee who has worked for David. We also have to find out what information he has leaked so far." Rohan agreed and said, "And the second step would be to get David in a position where he's stuck before he makes his next move." The security team started monitoring the activities of every employee of the company. In no time, they identified the person who had leaked confidential information for David. The man was a senior employee of the company's IT department. "It can be risky to talk to him directly," Jason said. "We have to gather evidence against him and handle it in a legal manner." Rohan ordered the security team, "Record his every move. I want us to have all the evidence." Meanwhile, Olivia and David further accelerate their plan. "Rohan feels like he's controlling everything," David told Olivia. "But we're very close. You have to take him more into confidence now." Olivia, feeling a little uncomfortable, said, "I think he's understanding something. He's been looking very calm and normal lately, but I see something else behind him." David assured him, "He won't be able to do anything. Everything will go according to our plan." Rohan has now started preparing for his next move. He transferred his financial records and the company's secret files to a secure server. He ensured that no outsider could access his property or company. "This is my biggest fight and I'm not going to lose it," she told herself. A few days later, the security team caught the IT employee red-handed. He had sent David sensitive information about the company's projects and clients. "Now we have all the evidence," Jason said. "We need to handle it legally." Rohan replied, "No, not yet. I want David and Olivia to be allowed to get caught up in their tricks. When they think they have won, we will defeat them." Rohan now hatched a secret plan. He sent David an offer that would tempt him even more. The proposal was for participation in a big project of the company, which was fake but appeared to be genuine. David immediately accepted the offer and thought it was the first step to his victory. "Now he will fall into his own trap," Rohan said with a smile. That night, when Olivia returned home, she saw Rohan happier than usual. "What's wrong with you? You look so calm and happy these days," he asked suspiciously. Rohan smiled and said, "Sometimes things fall into place. You just have to have a little patience." Olivia took his words lightly, but there was a strange uneasiness inside her. The next day, David plans to meet Rohan. He was thinking that he is now very close to beating Rohan, but little did he know that this meeting would prove to be his biggest mistake. David arranges a private meeting at a luxurious hotel to meet Rohan. He was full of confidence, thinking that Rohan has now become a part of his plan. During the meeting, David smiled and said, "Mr. Carter, I am glad you considered my proposal. This partnership will prove to be beneficial not only for us, but also for your company." Rohan said calmly, "David, I think this partnership could be a fresh start, but I want us to keep it completely transparent. I am sure you will be honest in every step." David immediately responded, "Absolutely, transparency is our priority." After the meeting was over, David called Olivia. "Rohan has accepted our plan. Now he is completely in our trap." Olivia felt a little relieved, but she said, "I think we should be more vigilant. Rohan is not that easy." David ignored her concern, saying, "You don't worry. Now we have control over everything." But what David didn't know was that Rohan had already recorded every conversation of the meeting. This conversation was enough to prove David's plot. Rohan handed over the recording to his lawyer, Jason. "Now we have everything we needed, but I want it to be perfectly legal." Jason said, "We have to make sure that both David and Olivia are fully caught up in their moves." Meanwhile, Rohan made another move, going ahead with his plan. He proposed to trap David in another fake project, in which he would pretend to share his company's confidential files. These files were fake, but looked absolutely real. David greedily accepted the offer and told Olivia, "Now he will share all the information for us. This is the last step to our victory." Within days, David took over the confidential files and shared them with his contacts, but he did not know that these files were being tracked. "Now he's stuck everywhere," Rohan said with a smile. One evening, when David and Olivia were celebrating their victory at a secret place, Rohan raided there with the police and his legal team. David said in a startled way, "What's all this?" "Why are you here?" Rohan said in a cold voice. "This is where your game ends. You thought you were ahead of me, but the truth is that you were in my trap from day one." David was caught red-handed, and Olivia said nervously, "Ron, I'm sorry. What I did was my biggest mistake." Rohan looked into her eyes and said, "It is important to deserve forgiveness, and you missed that opportunity long ago." David was immediately arrested, and Olivia was left alone to bear the brunt of her actions. "Now I'm done," Rohan told Jason. "It was the hardest phase of my life, but I ended it my way." After David's arrest and the conspiracy was exposed, Rohan felt that he had won the biggest battle of his life, but he had no idea that the game wasn't over yet. The very next day, Rohan received a call from an unknown number. "You thought you won?" "This is just the beginning," said a heavy voice. Rohan was startled. It sounded like a knowledgeable person. "Who are you? What else do you want?" The call was disconnected. Rohan contacted Jason immediately. "Jason, we thought this game was over, but I think there's more to come. I need to know who else could be behind David." Jason agreed and said, "We'll examine it in depth. But you have to be careful. It could be part of a larger conspiracy." Rohan told his security chief, "Now I need full details of all of David's past contacts and transactions. This matter is not just personal. I feel this is a deep-rooted conspiracy to destroy my empire." The security chief submitted a detailed report within 2 days. The report showed that David had relationships with a number of high-level executives and competitors. One of these names caught Rohan's attention: Edward Stone. Edward Stone was the owner of a multinational company and Rohan's biggest competitor. Rohan immediately instructed his team to keep an eye on Edward's activities. In a matter of days, they learned that Edward had planned to steal and undermine Rohan's company's secrets using David and Olivia. "So the real game belonged to Edward," Rohan said angrily. "It's time he paid for his move." Rohan summons Edward to a secret meeting. He wrote in his message, "I know what you're doing against me. If you think you can win, meet me. This is your last chance." Edward read the message and laughed and said, "Rohan has now conceded defeat. I don't have to be afraid of him." But he did not know that Rohan had prepared a trap for this meeting. The meeting was held at a private club. Rohan had set up a secret recording device there and had already put his legal team on alert. During the meeting, Rohan said, "You tried to destroy my empire. But do you think you can get away with all this?" Edward replied with a laugh, "It's business, Ron. You understand all of this. The weak fall and the strong win." Rohan said calmly, "And when it is proven that you used illegal methods to attack my company, what will you say?" Edward's face suddenly turned serious. "You don't have any evidence," Rohan replied with a small smile. "The evidence? I have everything. Recordings of all your secret meetings, the instructions you sent to David, and your financial transactions. Your game is over now." Edward said angrily, "You're lying. It's all a trick." But Rohan beckoned his team, and within moments, the police and lawyers entered the room. Edward was caught red-handed. "You thought you could be ahead of me," Rohan said, "but now you will know how far I can go to protect my empire." Edward was immediately arrested, and a criminal trial was filed against him. Rohan presented all the evidence against Edward in court, which exposed his conspiracy. "Now this game is really over," Rohan said to himself. "This fight was more than personal for me. It was to protect my faith, my work, and my life." After Edward's arrest, Rohan felt that he could finally find peace in his life. But this was only a beginning. He realized that after such a great conspiracy, he would have to rebuild his company and his personal life. Over the next few days, Rohan met with his attorney Jason and the head of security. "We have to make sure that there is no more threat. My company and my life have to be completely secured," Rohan said. Jason said as he drew up the plan, "We will review every department, check all employees who have carried out suspicious activities in the last few months." Rohan agreed. Meanwhile, Olivia began to feel uneasy about her situation. After David was in prison and Edward was arrested, she was completely alone. She tried to talk to Rohan, but Rohan kept a distance from her. One evening, she called Rohan. "I want to talk to you. Can we meet?" Rohan was silent for a while and then replied, "If you have something to say, say it. But it will be the last time." The next day, Olivia came to meet Rohan at his office. She sat down in front of Rohan and said, "I'm sorry for what I did. I know that apologizing won't do any good, but I want to say that I accept my mistakes." Rohan said in a calm voice, "Your regret means nothing, Olivia. You not only broke my trust but attacked my life and my work. Your apologies cannot change anything for me," Olivia said with tears in her eyes. "What I did was my biggest mistake. but I'm still asking you for a chance." Rohan looked into her eyes and said, "I'm sorry, but I don't see any place for you in my life anymore." After this, Rohan got himself fully engaged in his work and future plans. He took big steps to give a new direction to his company. She promoted all the employees who supported her in her difficult times. "We will only move forward now," she told her team. During this time, Olivia tried to atone for her mistakes. He left the city and started living a simple life by moving to a new place. A month later, Rohan was honored with a prestigious international award. The award was for her contribution to her company and society. At the award ceremony, Rohan said, "The credit for this award goes to those who believed in me and stood by me. This is not my victory, but our collective victory." That night, when Rohan returned to his house, he wrote in his diary, "Every fall is a new beginning. What I lost in my life made me stronger. Now my aim is only to move forward." He closed the diary and, looking out of the window, said to himself, "Now I won't look back." Rohan's life was now moving in a new direction. He was not only rebuilding his business, but also making himself better and stronger. Every day brings a new challenge and a new opportunity for him. Over the next few weeks, Rohan plans to take his business internationally. He called his team and said, "What we have achieved in our region is only a start. It's time we push our boundaries and make an impact on the global stage." The team followed his plan with great enthusiasm. During this time, Rohan felt that he was feeling an emptiness in his personal life as well. She decided to spend time with her family and friends. She called her sister Amy and said, "Amy, I want us to spend some time together. I feel like I've ignored my personal relationships a bit." Amy said happily, "It's a very good thing. I'm looking forward to spending time with you." In a few days, Rohan planned a short vacation with his sister and some old friends. He went to a quiet place by the sea where he reflected on his past and present. One night, while strolling along the beach, he said to himself, "What I lost will never come back, but what I learned is my greatest asset." Meanwhile, Rohan's business was steadily succeeding. His company signed a major international deal, which took him to a new height. Leaving old events behind, she made a new beginning. One day, Rohan received an anonymous email. The email read, "The battle you won is a testament to your strength. But with every victory comes new challenges. Be careful." Rohan read the email carefully, but he didn't attach much importance to it. He said to himself, "After what I have endured, I am now ready for any challenge." Claire, who had left the city, was now living a different life altogether. He started teaching children in a small school and tried to atone for his mistakes. One day, she wrote a letter to Rohan. "Rohan, I'm sorry for what I did, but I also know that you will forgive me, because that is your greatness. I will always send good wishes to you." Rohan read the letter, but he kept it in his drawer without responding. Over time, Rohan transformed his life into a new stability and happiness. She not only took her business to a higher level, but also built strong relationships with her family and friends. One day, when he was working on a new project with his team, he said, "Our goal is not just to achieve success. Our goal is to be an inspiration to others. This is our real purpose." That night, as he stood on the balcony of his office, he looked at the city lights and said to himself, "I have won my battle, but my real win is that I have been able to make my life better again." Time passed, and Rohan's life became stable and full of success. But one day, when he was sitting in his office, his security team gave him a new alert. "Mr. Carter, we have found some suspicious activity on your email server. It sounds like someone is trying to access your personal and business data," the head of security said. Rohan immediately took stock of the situation. "Have we found out the source of it?" he asked in a serious tone. The chief of security shook his head and said, "According to our initial report, it is not the work of an outsider. This attack is being carried out by someone who is working from inside your company. Hearing this information, Rohan's mind started working fast. He instructed his security team to be on alert immediately. I want to ensure the safety of my company at any cost. I want the name of every person who might have tried to access our data in the last few days, she said. The team started working quickly. Within a few days, they discovered a suspicious person. This was the same IT employee who had previously worked closely with David, but this time he was working for a new mastermind. This issue is not just business, it can also be personal, Jason said. Rohan agreed and said, "We have to find out who is behind this. And this time, I want us to root it out completely." The security team began secretly tracking down the suspicious employee. They found that he used to go to some secret place at night and meet an unknown person. The team soon identified the unknown man. It was Edward Stone's closest collaborator, Richard Martin. "So after Edward, now Richard has started this game," Rohan said in a cold voice. "These people are never going to give up." Rohan hatches a new plan to deal with Richard. He instructed his IT experts to set up a fake server into which fake confidential information was deliberately inserted. "We're going to show him that he's stealing our real information. But when he uses it, it will prove to be disastrous for him," Rohan said. Richard stole information from the fake server and thought he had outsmarted Rohan. But as soon as she shared it with her contacts, her lie was exposed. Rohan asked his legal team to take immediate action. "I want Richard and all his associates to be exposed, and this time I'll make sure it doesn't happen again," she said. In court, Rohan presented all the evidence against Richard. The judge said in pronouncing the verdict, "Richard Martin is found guilty on charges of data theft and conspiracy. He should be arrested immediately." With Richard's arrest, Rohan strengthened his company's security even further. He said, "We have won another battle, but it won't be the last. We have to be prepared at all times." That night, Rohan wrote in his diary, "The challenges in life never end, but every challenge makes us stronger." He closed the diary and said to himself, "My priority now is to ensure that there is no further threat to my empire." After Richard's arrest and the conspiracy was exposed, Rohan resolved to fully secure his company and personal life. But there was still a question in his mind. Did the game end here? Or was it the beginning of some other great danger? Over the next few days, Rohan further tightened his security arrangements. He conducted a thorough review of every department of his business. Her team analyzed the potential threats in the company and took measures to overcome them. Jason said, "We don't have any weak link now that can create problems in the future, but we have to be vigilant." Rohan shook his head and said, "This fight is not just about the safety of my business. It has upheld the values on which I have built it." During this time, Rohan conducted an inspirational session for his team and staff. Sharing her experience, she said, "We have faced difficult times, but each time we have found ourselves stronger. I want all of you to treat this company like your home and be dedicated to protecting it." The staff supported him with applause. However, Rohan's personal life still felt incomplete. He said to his sister Amy, "I've won my battle, but I still feel lonely. Maybe I need to focus on myself and explore something new in life." Amy smiled and said, "You need someone who understands you beyond your work. You have to give yourself a chance." Rohan considered his words. A few days later, Rohan hired a new assistant in his office, named Sarah. Sarah was smart, dedicated, and excellent at her job. She quickly proved herself while working with Rohan. One day, Rohan said to Sarah, "You've done a great job on my team. I want you to work on new projects for our company." Sarah smiled and said, "I'll be happy. It's a big opportunity for me." While working with Sarah, Rohan realized that he was being influenced by her thinking not only professionally, but also personally. Sarah's honesty and positivity gave her a new perspective. One day, when they were discussing a project, Sarah said, "What you have experienced is not only inspiring, but it teaches us how difficulties make us better. Rohan felt himself opening up for the first time. He smiled and said, "You're right. Maybe I'm able to understand now that life isn't just about struggling and winning. It's also about bettering yourself and building new relationships." Over time, a strong bond formed between Rohan and Sarah. This relationship was not only based on trust and respect, but it also symbolized a new beginning for both. One day, Rohan said to Sarah, "I didn't know if I could trust anyone again, but you showed me that it's possible to make new relationships in life." Sarah replied, "And you taught me that under no circumstance should we give up." That night, Rohan wrote in his diary, "Life always gives us new opportunities. We just need to recognize and embrace them." Rohan decides to relive his life. He was making a fresh start, not only in his business, but also in his personal life. Time passed, and Rohan's life was now full of stability and contentment. His relationship with Sarah was slowly beginning to gain depth. Rohan felt that he had revived every aspect of his life, but as in life, new twists and turns and unexpected events always come up. One day, Rohan received an old reminiscing email. This email was from Olivia. "Ron, I know I've hurt you a lot, but I just want to say that I am now learning to live with my mistakes. It makes me happy to see your life. I hope you'll forgive me." Rohan read the email and thought for a moment. He felt that he had now closed this chapter completely. She put the email in her archive without replying. On the same day, Sarah said to Rohan, "I've learned a lot working with you, but I see that you are still a little careful about your personal life. Is it an effect of the past?" Rohan replied with a slight smile, "Maybe. But I now understand that holding on to the past prevents us from moving forward. I'm working on it." Sarah said seriously, "What you have endured makes you an inspiration to others, but you should remind yourself that you, too, deserve a fresh start." Meanwhile, Rohan's company started a new project, which was not only promoting the business, but also making a positive impact in the society. The project was called Future for All. Addressing his team, Rohan said, "This project is the definition of our values and our work. It not only gives us an opportunity to make profits, but also gives an opportunity to give something back to the society." The team enthusiastically supported it. Sarah was leading the project. With her dedication and hard work, she proved that she is not just an assistant, but an important pillar for the company. One day, when she and Rohan were alone after a meeting, Sarah said, "I never thought I would be able to handle such a big responsibility, but you trusted me, and that is my strength." Rohan said in a low voice, "You've proved that it was right to trust you. You have changed so much, not only for my company, but for my life as well." Meanwhile, Rohan decides to strengthen his relationship with Sarah. She invited him to dinner on a quiet evening. During dinner, she said, "I have seen many ups and downs in my life, but with you, I feel like I've finally found the peace and happiness I've been looking for." Sarah replied with a smile, "I think I'm here because you gave me this opportunity." After dinner, while they were taking a stroll on the beach, Rohan held Sarah's hand and said, "I don't know what will happen next, but I know that I want to share every moment of my life with you. Will you stay with me forever?" Sarah's eyes lit up. He said, "Yes, that's what I want too." That night, Rohan wrote in his diary, "Sometimes it's only after we've lost that we realize what we want. I fought my battles, but now I'm welcoming peace and joy." The relationship between Rohan and Sarah gradually deepened. Their partnership was strengthened not only on a personal level, but also on a business level. Along with Sarah, Rohan made a new beginning in his life, which was inspiring not only for him, but also for those around him. A few months later, the Future for All project began to gain international recognition. This initiative was not only profitable for the business, but also became a great example for social impact. One day, Rohan stood in front of his team along with Sarah and said, What we started was just an idea, but you turned it into reality. It is the result of your hard work and dedication." The team applauded Rohan and Sarah with loud applause. Sarah said to Rohan that evening, "Working with you was the best decision of my life. I not only bettered myself here, but also learned how to move forward even in adverse circumstances." Rohan looked into Sarah's eyes and said, "You have changed my life. Your contribution to what I am today is invaluable." After some time, Rohan held a grand event where he decided to celebrate the success of his company and the Future for All project. The event was attended by prominent people from business, social service, and various fields. During the event, Rohan stood on the stage and said, "In this journey, I learnt that every struggle gives us a new strength. What I lost in the past gave me an opportunity to understand what is the real value in life. This success is not mine alone. It belongs to all those who supported me in this journey." His speech made everyone emotional. At the end of the event, Rohan called Sarah on stage and said, "This woman is not only at the heart of this company's success, but also of my life. I want to confess to you all that Sarah is no longer just my partner, but also a part of my life." Sarah smiled and said, "All this would not have been possible without your trust and support. You are a true inspiration." That night, Rohan wrote in his diary for the last time, "I have lived through all the ups and downs of my life. But now I am in the most beautiful chapter of my life. I have learned that true strength is that which lifts us above difficulties and gives us a new direction." He closed the diary and went to Sarah and said, "Come on, let's move on." Sarah took him by the hand and smiled and said, "Yes, let's live life to the fullest." Rohan's story proved that every difficulty is meant to make us stronger. She not only rebuilt her life, but also made it better and more beautiful than before.